Uh, today we have Alley Claw,
Howdy, howdy.
and there is another voice. It's Fluffy's Eye. They'll be here eventually. Vil maybe, who knows? Uh,
Pop
and
in.
and and Shu. No, me. Yeah, me.
Is you? Yeah, you. Yeah.
Dude. Um,
Forever Zom.
Forever Zom. It's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we don't have much art today. We're also on a bit of a time crunch, but we'll do our best to do whatever needs to get done. Today's theme is Dino Party, for no particular dino partying reasons.
Nope, nothing to do with strange source dinos around here. Nope.
Totally
Nothing
not.
nothing to do with parties revolving around any sort of sources.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about, Allie.
Nope,
Full of
no,
lies,
totally.
heresy, and lies. So hop on into that Eggy and draw up some partying prehistoric creatures. It'll be good fun. Heck,
Yeah.
prehistoric ponies maybe. I don't know. Do what do you?
Whatever dino party inspires.
All right. Well, it looks like we actually have Corin in our voice chat. So let's just hop into theirs first, because you know
Oh
how it
yeah.
works. It's first come first serve. If you're here, you win the game.
The game.
The game.
Congratulations, you won.
The
Oh,
world
where's my
is
free
saved.
iPod?
Uh, it'll be in the
After
mail.
filling out these 300 surveys, you win.
So, Corin, what
I'm
seems
back.
to be the problem with this one?
I have no idea. Talk about it and then I'll ask my questions. Just tell me what you see.
What questions do you have? Because you said when you're asking for it, you had a few questions.
Well, I guess the first question I can ask is how you think the shading looks. I finally figured out how to use color correction layers to get the shading to cooperate, I suppose, after messing with a whole bunch of stuff. And so that's how the pink and yellow shading on the bodies actually managed to make it there. Uh,
Looks like you're heavily relying on actually dropping down to blacks for not quite blacks, but like actually going, hey, this is the red I'm using, and then scrolling on down to that dark value to do that. Um, Bad. You wanna actually tilt the hue. We're gonna bring that on over to a blue, because as you get closer to blue, the colder it gets. Cold is what shadows are. Go towards the blue.
Oh, I've never had that. I mean, like using blue on like a warm colored character for shading.
Mm-hmm. Usually, like if it's a warm character, you shade with cold colors. If it's a cold character, you shade with
I would
warm
have thought
colors.
that would sort of take away from the saturation. I tend to shade with a darker but more intense hue of the color.
Well, it depends. The opposites play really well with each other, especially when shadow and light are so opposite. Uh, the saturation all depends on the saturation you're using. If you're going far too unsaturated, then or desaturated, you're gonna obviously lose that saturation. So
But it's
that's
definitely
where the
100% worth experimenting with.
exactly.
hmm.
Yeah, right now I'd also say that your characters are very saturated, like just very very saturated. So I would even consider bringing down your saturation a bit on your base colors as well as your other, highlights and shadows.
Okay.
I found the canvas. Is this, are we looking at the CMC?
No,
No.
the one on the right.
Okay, cool. I
Um,
definitely see some good improvement for you from what I've seen before. Very
Yeah, I actually did like a background
nice.
spur of the moment kind of thing.
So you were about to say something, Robbie?
Yeah, the shading is also kind of inconsistent too, between the characters and the background. So your background here at the stage is shaded in a very different way than the rest of the characters here. if you're going to have this range of colors going from, come on, how do I do that? Shift, control, control. Going from this, oh, come on. Give me something. There it goes. There. Going from that all the way down to this. That level of contrast should also be carried over to the stage. So you'd be going from this up here. Totally works coloring that shade in front of that. Tilting it on down. Maybe not that far. Going to darken behind them. So we need the same level of contrast because they have the same level of light appearing on them. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just makes the picture feel more unified, cohesive.
Okay.
And if you really wanted to get fancy after that, you sort of get into like how the light from the characters reflects, you know, and bounces back and then bounces back with them onto the stage. But I think that's a step down the line. I'll focus on what LD said first. As for something I can sort of see, if you don't mind pointing something out, I think the creases on the clothes of the character on the left, I think definitely need some work. I mean, you've definitely got the first stage there where you're trying to put that sort of like shape and weight to the clothes, where you're not just having it as like a flat skin tight thing over the character. So that's definitely the first step done. The next thing is just sort of trying to get the flow of that in, because what I see there is very jagged and very, it doesn't sit and flow in the same sort of way that fabric actually would. And I will say it's one of the hardest things, I think, or most daunting things, I'll say, to come up against when you're like learning art. But learning like how fabric folds and stuff is very, very fun once you get it right and once you like study it a little bit. And I will say, like, personally, when I do it, it's very, I sort of very messily and very quickly scrub the brush over it in very quick strokes, just sort of refining where I think the sort of direction of the folds and where the clothes are going to be dragging, weighing down, just to sort of get those areas out, and sort of get a very loose, messy like idea of like folds and things, just to base off of. Then I go in and add more detail, because it is a very sort of natural and responsive sort of thing. So you don't really want to be working too hard in the way of like thinking. You just need to sort of think about where like the bends are. Like if I can get the tablet for a second. Some areas are going to be more tightly restricted than others. For example, I think what I can make mine. The elbow bend here is going to have a lot of creases like this, because it's very tightly compacted. It's going to be pulling that fabric towards this joint here. Whereas for the shoulder here, sort of the mid section of the arm, it's going to be very loose because there's nothing pulling on it. So it's going to be sort of very folded in this sort of direction. So it can be hard to get it right, but to work on how the fabric folds over, you can do things like that, where it's sort of, you can see there's a crease there. There's all sorts of techniques, and there's some lovely, wonderful tutorials out there on how to get the fabric looking, which, as I said, looks daunting when you come up against it, but you can make some pretty awesome headway when you just start studying a little bit. You can start making some awesome crease shapes. Just thinking about how it like flows and stuff. That's about all I had. Do you have any more questions? Is there anything else that you sort of wanted to bring up, or that you think you kind of hope you talk about?
I guess. Never mind. No, I think I'm
Do you
good.
have anything? Okay.
All right.
You guys have any other points?
No, it looks very much your run-of-the-mill style that you've been doing, and you've been improving on it, which is good. yeah, just keep going, keep playing with
Yeah.
it. I might suggest maybe stepping back a little from the details in the art and actually just going back to the fundamentals of researching shading, and that I know it sounds like a pain in the butt, but wow, does it help. You just go do a bit of studying on it, go shade a few spheres, a
And you
few
can
weird
even
objects.
like once you sort of you can practice a bit with the shading and make sure you get that sort of get that practice in, and then you can sort of save a version that's just like here, look, this is what I did with the shading, you know, and then like go ahead and add the rest of the detail on afterwards.
Yeah. Like, because I noticed this is like a very top-down, spotlighted, runway model-esque kind of light going on. So go out and get references of people in a spotlight, on stage, actual people. Get that idea of the light, because that's light references are so amazingly great. I know we talk about references for anatomy a lot, but like you can also get light references for things. It doesn't even need to be on the subject matter, but how the light falls on a shape, a subject matter.
I think you get two things from references. One thing is most of me has specific references to the specific subject you're drawing, but you can also get from other things who sort of teaching shading, and that's like the specific. Okay, this is how the light bends around this shape. Like take the thigh there, for example. If you looked at like a picture of a natural model and runway and doing that sort of pose and say, okay, I can see how the light bends on her actual thigh, and you took that and put it directly into the picture. The other thing I think is just you sort of gain an understanding of how it works as you go, and that's kind of more of an underlying subconscious thing. It's like a feeling that you kind of will take into the picture as you're trying to work it out in the future. So they're both reference and teach, I think.
Yeah, it would have helped if I had known that I was actually going to draw the runway background with the spotlight beforehand.
You're just drawing like characters posing them.
Oh yeah, no, they were done before I even decided to start on the background.
I think you did a good job of making the background look like it was in place there.
Yeah.
I don't see any problems with the planes of existence or anything. All looks in place.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can just kind of pull a perspective ruler and make a background out of nothing to fit a picture.
I mean, it would also be something to consider to like start thinking of these things with the entire image, because usually, like, I know sometimes art is totally happy accidents and you just run with it and how it goes, but like sometimes planning art out is going to make your art that much stronger. All the research and like plotting and thumbnails and just really figuring out how you want the composition to be before you get into the nitty-gritty.
You can go
It'll just make you a stronger artist.
You could just do something like a quick draft doodle first, or you could go through all the whole thumbnailings and actually like setting it up first, and then like maybe having that as like a separate canvas of doodles and thumbnails and stuff, and like color palettes and shit, just to sort of get that at the side there, so you can look at it and be like, oh, okay, just to sort of keep that feeling of planning in your head as you're drawing.
Okay, I'll have to pull
it's
some.
It's sort of just experimenting, just to see what helps you to figure out the things.
Yeah, I've got 3 more of this kind of image for the rest of the characters for them fighting herds, and I'm already working on one, so I might as well just take that into account now and run with that.
Hello, Oaken and Shield. Alright then, the one person who just hopped in the chat.
Okay.
Let's just saying hi to them. Let's hop into the next picture then.
Right, cool.
Awesome.
Thanks.
No problem.
Rolling to the left. Rolling to the left.
Oh, apparently it's T-minus 23 minutes till a certain birthday.
Dun dun dun! That reminds me, there's an Eggy going on, and it requires more party hats. Some characters, partying, those things. You should hop in there.
We're partying up prehistoric style today. Come on, guys.
Grab your rocks and have fun.
After my noodles.
Prehistoric noodles? What?
That's would be an interesting flavor.
I mean, I guess they could hold up if they're like,
Dinosaur noodles.
No, someone's erasing stuff. No!
No.
Why does this always happen?
How could this happen to me? All right. This one's by Spellbound Canvas, and it's called Criminally Cute.
I see they're really pushing the expressions from the last images I remember from them.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see that. They've really. I don't know if they are they here in the chat or is this like a.
No, this is submitted from our subreddit.
Okay, so I can definitely see their like. I don't know if they're referencing the show or not, or just like cartoon reference in general, but they definitely got like that emote in there. That's very nice. So I wonder what did these cities do? How far did they go for their humor?
They're criminally cute.
Also, like the horn lock on Sweetie Doll. I'm wondering, is that like grey around the horn, like because of the lock, like it's a natural effect or something, or is that actually part of the thing, like it's like a metal cone? Because we've seen did they have like a ring at some point in the show that just like blocks? Oh no, they had like Sombra's crystal or whatever that kind of blocks the magic from going any further.
Yeah.
There's something, it could be something similar to that.
They tend not to show ponies in prison because all ponies are altruistic and good.
But yeah, it's very. I definitely want to see more of the context to this, or let's see a follow-up. That'd be even more fun. But okay, so first thing, I really like the poses going on, but I sort of feel they're a bit too uniform between them. And like, I know it's probably like there's a procedural pose they had to take or whatever, but it's just a bit too obvious that it's copy and pasted. Like the bodies, they're a bit too identical. Even if there was anything you could do, even just to slightly change the lines, then that would like throw off the mind, and you wouldn't notice that it's the same.
So I don't
necessarily.
The lower part of the body, I'll give you copy paste, but the heads aren't. The heads are redrawn, like drawn again.
That, yeah.
Because the ears are ears.
It's a good thing because like it well I completely agree, like it just feels like there's no point doing the same thing again. There are situations where copying and pasting is effective and efficient, and like if you had like a comic and from panel to panel, you know, you want to be if something's applicable in like the same sort of position, then you want to copy and paste. Redrawing it, just being consistent if it's an object. But for like something that's like characters posing, like they're obviously not going to have the exact same position as bodies because they're like living beings. There's just, even if you like change things ever so slightly, just give like slightly different lines or different shapes, or just like move a leg slightly down or something, you know, just so that you have that difference. And it just, I think, looks a bit more cool.
Look, it's Spellbound Canvas. Oh,
hi.
Apparently your audio's not that high. One sec, that's probably my fault.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No.
That's totally my fault. Actually, I'm blaming Discord.
Is it better now?
Discord.
Is it fixed now?
It's getting there. One sec.
Okay. Also important to note that my parents are in bed, so I can't talk too loudly.
There you go. OBS was turned way down.
Yeah, well, TLDR is just like, it's a bit too obvious that the bodies are copy and pasted, and it's just do any little changes you can do in the bodies, just subtle little differences, kind of throw the brain off and make it look more fluid.
Since Spellbound Canvas is here, did they have any questions, any issues they wanted to touch on for this piece? Any particular struggles?
While I wait for the response, I would like to say you can push the shading a bit more because you have inconsistent shading. The stuff under the pony is very dark, but then under the neck isn't. Under the hair gets dark again. It's just inconsistent values between it.
It gets dark on Scootaloo, but I think it's on Sweetie Belle and Apple it's quite light.
Yeah, but if you compare it to like under the main hair right here, whoop, it's different values of that.
Yeah.
And it's a little like what we talked about last time with the last picture we did, how the shadows feel like they're just kind of turned to the dark as black that's not black. That like muddied color.
It just looks like they've used sort of different values between the characters as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, like when you take like your base color and then you just kind of pull it down to black, but still keep that color. That still is kind of like muddying up the shadows, and you can benefit much more by like picking different colors. This Goodloose does look a lot greener than the other two, at least on her face.
Yeah, and I feel like the hooves, both front and back, need some shading. The front ones actually have, on Apple Room is Scooter, you can see it anyway. They have lighting, so that would mean they would have a shadow on the other side, and on the back hooves, I mean, you've got parts where like the shadow goes from the clothes, and then kind of cuts off at the hooves. Think about like the shape of the hoof and like the roundness of it, and you can sort of bend the shadow around that into sort of underneath where the clothes go, because they're going to be casting the shadow as well, like on the inside. Again, references. I'll try and do a little bit of lining so I can show you what I mean. I forgot I had a tablet for a second. Let me do a zoom. Oh, where am I?
So they're asking methods of applying lighting and shades. Know what your light source is. So right now, for instance, you have a very strong and focused light source. It's very intense compared to everything around them. What this will generally give you is a very hard shadow, and it will expand from the top point. So our point way above the pony's head, where that light starts, comes down, and everything's going to be cast in the same sort of width as that light comes down. Much like a 3-point or a perspective line, you get to actually draw one of those from the light. And this is the easy way of knowing how big shadows should be on that horse. So if we have their chin here, everything's going to be covered under here. For the arms, everything's going to be, the shade's actually going to pull away from the body. So in this case, we're going to have light, or this shadow of this sign be bigger than them, be bigger than the sign itself, because it's stretching due to the way the light's sitting.
Also some shadow on the arms themselves.
And then and then when that's all done, you'll want to be approaching this with a very hard brush to do the shading in, because it's not going to be a soft shadow. You have just a single, very intense light hitting them. So if you take your flashlight or your camera phone or whatever hard light you have, hold it close to your hand, you'll see that shadow that comes on it is very, very hard. But as you move it away, you'll get this very soft light, and that's as it diffuses through the air around you. Because it's not the flashlight's not very intense compared to, say, the sun. You get it diffusing as it moves away. But we can see everything close is very hard. So that's using your real life references for your horse.
Whoa.
I know.
And of course, if you don't have, flashlights or objects you can do that with, online has so many different plethora of information. Like headshots for photographers, if you Google stuff about that in lighting, they're going to have so many references for directional lighting, because portraiture for photos and such, so much sculpting with light. That is half of their job, majority of their job.
Photography itself literally means painting with light.
Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely, that's a very good point, Emmy. Specific reference information, yay!
Woo!
Because sometimes searching for references can be very hard. It's like, what am I supposed to Google for this?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it'll be like the strangest thing, you making connections, and like not necessarily like, you don't always necessarily need the exact thing you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like for drawing a pony, maybe you want something with more action and jumping and whatnot. So you Google different animals, like dogs and such. It's a cartoon. They can break the normal horse-like manners of things,
Mm-hmm.
Or just going and finding things that help. Lighting in all shapes and sizes, and
That you can, if you feel that your picture just sort of lacks some life to the pose, you can just search up like action scenes, like comic book things and My Hero Academia, and just get those those sort of motion and life into the pose. It's all about just sort of thinking about what you're trying to bring in and what you could search that has that you can steal.
But yeah, I really like the expressions you're pushing because I know from your previous work, you tended to keep like the one like really cute big eyes and big smile. But here, I really see you pushing the expression, and it's really working for you.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I mean, you've clearly sort of taken that step and just sort of think about how can I portray what it is my character is thinking, you know. And we clearly get very different like emotions from these three characters. Like you got Apple Bloom, who of course is very like, I can't believe this is happening. She's just like completely just frozen. Scootaloo is just like, I'm so dead, and just like kind of embarrassed. And then Sweetie Belle is just sort of mental breakdown. It's like, oh, see, we get that because you put the effort into the expression.
So just linked a lighting simulator. It's pretty simplistic. I'll give you a quick idea of what it does. You get to move around, well, up to 6 sets of light. And you just move them around with this, and we can see them move in, move out, move down, move up, left, right, so on and so forth. And it gives you a general idea of where that light's placed, but then you get to place it onto a model. And for whatever, there it is. So right now it's behind him. We can see how the light moves around the model. You can see. There it is. Yeah, you can see how the lighting changes based on the position of our light. So our light source is now above them, 2 or 3 blocks in front of them. Yeah. And it should give you a pretty good idea of light moving around on an object. Good studying style material where you get to play with it a little bit. Alright. Any further questions, Spellbound Canvas?
No further questions? Alrighty, right. Well, then I guess it's very special announcement time for our special Dino Party Aggie, our dear friend and moderator of the stream, Strangeosaurus. It is his birthday today. Officially.
Woo!
Happy birthday!
It just turned 27 for him. Woohoo. Yay.
Now we all must party, and you all must draw in the Aggie and celebrate your Dino God.
It's a draw party.
Draw party.
I mean, I definitely want my 9th birthday to just be like, we sit around and draw, okay? But in the meantime, does anyone have any art to throw at our faces so we can continue this draw party?
Party.
Make a wish, it's your wait.
Flagged.
No!
Flagged on the birthday. Not even on the birthday does the dino rest.
But here's the twist. It's a birthday flag. It just says happy birthday with a dynamo.
Special
Okay,
edition birthday flag.
Now I know what I'm gonna be putting in the Aggie.
Oh, it says Tarsanier has one. If you have something you would like critique, please throw it at our face. It's the only way we know it exists.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not real.
Absolutely.
It's never real. Are you real?
Otherwise, I have to go to bed, and that's just boring and sad. So.
Unconfirmed, Ali. I might be
You
a thing
people
that...
are giving me a fun time, and I don't want to stop hanging with you. So I need art. I need it to live. It's my life source now.
That's,
I need uncritiqued art, ready for
Food.
critiquing.
You should eat. Oh, resize. Alright, do you have any questions on this one that I'm pasting in?
I need a dinosaur scene. It won't doesn't take a layer. Oh, this is nice.
Drawing on the foreground. I see it.
I'm just I'm off to the side, doodling, doodle.
I like this. It's cool. Okay, so I think you have a lot of like motion in this because like the streaks in the background already kind of give our brain like a swoosh. There's a motion going this way, and they all like follow the same kind of path, even while contracting towards the front. But of course, Rainbow is facing the same way, pointing into the same sort of point, which links her in, and her body feels just slender and sleek enough that it's kind of like got the same motion in it. So I think that's really cool. You've got a really nice composition going on.
I think my two big critiques about the pose itself is that you're missing a wing. We would see the other wing popping out here. And then this arm over here, this back arm, you wouldn't actually have to show that much of it because that means this back arm is that much longer than your front arm.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I first look at it, it kind of looks almost like it's like a thing on her hoof, because I think one of the main issues for that is because you have a tangent going along here, and that links the two legs together. We can't see that there's any real difference between them, and that tangent also follows on here. So basically, we get the entire leg shape like this, and that's not very good. If you were to just bring it up a little bit, just sort of make like a little thing sticking out here. If I can switch back to my pen, just a bit. Whoop. Here's a hoof. Then that would sort of just have the matter effect. You just got to sort of think about the direction the character's going and like sort of try to stick to a perspective. So if you're going for this, so if you do the wing here like Ali drew it, then it's like, okay, we're seeing a bit of the right side of her. Maybe I'll move the leg just to sort of match it a little bit. Like you can take that as far as you go, or just say, okay, well, it's just that's where it is, depending on where the perspective is. But just have a playing around with things and see where things could go in the background.
My other critique, at least for how the legs would stretch, the back legs more specifically. Let me get a different color. This dark green is not lending to popping. There we go. So this big curve that we normally see ponies have, that's usually that curve is more when their legs are like scrunched up. When the legs are stretched out, let me just draw, here's like a butt circle. So, our normal pony curved leg, little backbone, boom. We got yourself, a pony leg. Now, to really stretch that pony leg, I'm going to draw another butt circle. Boom, boom, boom. So, it's a stretch of the leg, so the bones are stretching out further instead of being clumped up, because this little area here where I'm circling, where we lost the hawk in the folds of the butt here, where the hawk would actually be stretching to its peak. So, that's just another thing to be aware of when like stretching the leg. Something really fun and easy to do is just like, that's a really long leg, but to just kind of draw the leg itself in different positions, not necessarily connected to a pony, just like I did, draw a butt circle and then practice, drawing, under sketching, all that fun stuff. Like the first start off with your, let me get a proper thing, start out with your skeleton lines to like get the idea of the shape, and then work in your basic shapes of the legs, the hawk, and then we get our boom, 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 stretched out. And maybe even like work to different extremes, like real curled up. So you get that like big thigh, crunched up on itself. Just really play around with how the legs actually move. And I think that'll help your posing tenfold. Like, just practice that anatomy, practice how it moves, how the bones move. Get yourself lots of references of legs moving. I really think that'll help benefit, because I know it's always a struggle when you're pushing like the legs completely behind them, because horses don't exactly do that with their bone structure. So it takes a lot of play and messing with it. It is cartoons, so you can always, you know,
Budget.
fudge it. Yeah.
But that actually is quite helpful to me. I mean, I'm not even very good at legs myself, so I think
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Thank you.
Just like it's sometimes it's just a matter of breaking things down into manageable practice pieces. You don't need to draw like a whole pony every time if, say, you're having trouble with the back legs. Like, sure, it'll help, but sometimes you need to sit there and break down the trouble spot, like, say, back legs. Really learn how that anatomy is and why it is and how it bends and et cetera, and how in depth the anatomy is. If you want to study everything from real horses to the show. Real horses will give you the full movement. The show is a little bit more limited, but they still follow, the horses, because horses and ponies. I don't know if you knew. Fun fact, horses are ponies, and they inspired the show. All that
Yeah.
fun.
So learning from the show is great, but also learning from the source material of nature.
Woo woo.
Also, how do you draw dinosaurs? This is difficult.
References.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. Thank you. You have been paying attention. I have not.
Silly fun times. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on helping with posing.
Yeah.
Was there anything else besides what Fluffy touched on?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, Tarson, if you don't have any other questions, and if there's anyone else out there who has some art that would like to be critiqued, throw it at our faces and such.
Yes, we appreciate that. Please do it properly so that it arrives faster. I'm Googling references.
Yeah, the best images to look for are directly from the show. If you're going for show style, just go watch the episode and hit pause on assorted points. If you're looking to sort of mimic another artist, go use that artist as references.
You can just Google like pony pose reference or angle reference, stuff like that, and people have actually been nice enough to like sketch out different poses as well as like different head angles and body angles and stuff, and you can just find sheets of those on Google, and they're very super helpful.
As well, for like real horses, just Google for horses, jumping horses, walking horses, running horses. There's a really great website that I'm just going to pull up in a moment that is actually, what they did was they take horses in motion, and vets drew the bone structures of the horse on top of the image. So it really helps that like breakdown. There it is.
I found lots of not reference but cute pictures of
Ooh.
dinosaurs. And that's good, right?
But yeah, any kind of natural horse, you know, no, anything from real life is pretty much a good image for anatomy. No problem, and happy arting. Can't wait to see more.
All right. Well, if that's it, I think we're gonna call it a day. We're in 43 minutes.
Woot woot. Not our best timing, but
No, it wasn't our land speed record.
well, I guess we'll call it then. Thank everybody for coming today, and don't forget to draw on the Dino Aggie. Is for a special dude, you know, stranger, but actually a friend.
No,
Yeah.
Dino's internet's not working. Someone say
No,
Stranger, but actually a friend source. Is that the full name?
Friendosaurus.
All right. See you next week for the 91st.
Bye,
Ooh,
everybody.
We're getting close to the 1K.